What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you my first impressions of 7, The Days Long Gone, which is a game I intended to review quite some time ago, but due to some technical issues was unable to, as the game would crash almost immediately, and despite trying pretty much every trick that I know, I couldn't get it to work. So I kind of had to put a pin in it and move on. Though, luckily, despite the game coming out in 2017, just this past month a patch was released for the game that finally fixed the issue, so I'm able to take a look at it. With that in mind, 7 here is an interesting game. It blends a lot of genres and styles into something fairly unique, which is why many people have asked me to take a look at it, and why, since that patch, people have been reminding me that it was fixed. But 7 describes itself as an action RPG meets isometric stealth mechanics. There's even some hints of an immersive sim in there. So needless to say, it's got a lot going on. But in terms of the setup, 7 is an interesting sort of high-tech, almost high fantasy even, version of a post-apocalypse in which various civilizations and factions warred with each other until there was nothing left, and the people in the ashes picked up the pieces following the prophet Drugan. Drugan set up the new Vetral Empire, which rules with what they call techno-mages, but we play as a master thief known as Teriel. During a high-profile job, trying to track down a special artifact, we unfortunately get caught, but not before bonding to said artifact, which leaves us in the presence of a ghost. But due to the fact that we got caught, we find ourselves in a prison colony, which is where most of the game takes place, where we have to utilize things like stealth or just straight up action-oriented combat instead to navigate our way through various side quests, etc. So the game seems to be fairly open-ended in that it gives you your main objective, but how you get there is largely up to you. Which of course means engaging with the game's mechanics, which can be things like simple stealth, which of course includes your classics like pickpocketing, knocking people out from the shadows, or setting up and using the environment to your advantage, or again, just running in, hacking and slashing, so to speak, but you also later on get access to various abilities that will help you do these things, and they'll sort of augment a specific playstyle. And in engaging with all of that, probably the thing that stuck out to me most was just the freedom of movement that you as the player are given. There's very little you can't jump on, interact with, sneak through, and while there are areas sort of designated as private where you're effectively trespassing, so you either want to be prepared for combat or stealth your way through, even in those instances, you're very free to move around the environment that you see, which is going to help you do things like find cover or use the terrain to your advantage. You can even find hidden routes to the place you're trying to go, or instead you could potentially take out a guard, steal all their clothes, put it on as a disguise, and effectively blend in with enemies who no longer attack you on sight. And that's to say nothing of doing things like avoiding spotlights, shutting down alarms. There's even a sense mode where you can kind of figure out what's going on tech-wise around you, trace security cameras back to their source, and potentially just shut them off. So overall, as a first impressions, this really strikes me as a surprisingly ambitious game. I can see why people were trying to get me to check it out. And right away, I love the setup. The world that they've kind of built here is inherently very interesting. It makes you want to explore. I like the sort of freedom to approach things how you please, because even when they go off the rails, you might be able to recover it somehow in a way you might not have expected. So going forward, as I move to review this particular title, I think the things that I want to keep my eyes on basically are how significant are the issues these days. This game was known to have a pretty rough launch, and the fact that I couldn't even review it for some time because I was unable to play it until it got fixed leads me to believe that that might not be the only issue I run into over the course of this one. And what's more, I'm curious if these mechanics can maintain their variety of approach across the game. I've heard this one is fairly short, with a lot of the content being down to the side quests, and it'll be curious to see if all of those quests and things maintain their variety of approaches, because oftentimes when you get later into games, what can initially be very open-ended narrows into really just like one or two solutions. So things that I have in mind as I move to review this. But right here, right now, I can honestly say that while I can very clearly see influences from a lot of different things, I can't ever say that I've played anything quite like this, which has me pretty excited to dive into it. Now, I am currently quite busy with a few other things, so it'll be probably a few weeks at least before you see the review for this one. But given that the developer for this game's most recent game, the Thaumaturge, actually got delayed a couple months, I should be able to fit this one in December. So you'll likely see a review for this before the year is out, out at the very least. But that is pretty much going to do it for today. I hope you enjoyed this look at 7, a game I am finally going to be able to review, and I'm pretty excited to check it out. So if you enjoyed this video, or if you're looking forward to that review, do by all means like, comment, subscribe, stick around a while. I check out and play and review games all the time, and chances are I've reviewed something else you're interested in. But in the meantime, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz. But regardless of any of that, truly, just thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.